Seattle's a growing city,
Yeah.
and where would you put those people, and where wouldn't you put those people?
Well, I think it's, I think you can, I don't know that it's that simple to answer it that way. I think that downtown and the close-in neighborhoods, many of them are requesting growth in terms of allowing more people there. So South Downtown, which is the International District, Little Saigon, Pioneer Square, and the areas around the stadium, have actually put forth pretty ambitious plans for lots of new housing because it'll help revitalize their business district. And there's certainly a lot of folks in the South Lake Union, Lower Queen Anne area who've advocated that as well, although it's controversial. I would talk again about those rapid ride corridors and those corridors around light rail stations, which are, really pretty underused right now. You could create, you'd have a nicer Aurora, you'd have a nicer 15th if you could accommodate nice quality multifamily housing along those corridors, with parks and good transit and good mixed uses. And I think neighborhoods would welcome, a lot of neighborhoods would welcome that type of new investment. I think the same thing is true down the Rainier Valley, if it's done right. And then I think you can look, at things like allowing, backyard cottages or mother-in-law apartments or things like that in the single-family zone. So I guess, that's not going to get you a lot of new housing, but it's another good option to provide a way for somebody to keep their house because they can rent out to, somebody else or for students to come in. So I think there's a way across the spectrum of Seattle's zoning to find ways to accommodate new people and really maintain the quality of our neighborhoods. I think the starting places are the transit corridors, and not just light rail by any means, but the bus corridors as well.
In terms of legacy items, what's your vision for Seattle? What kind of projects would you want to lead the city as mayor? What items will people say that's something that Mike McGinn created and built here in our city?
It's funny, I'm feeling really, I still have my Google News alert set to Seattle Parks levy. When I was running the campaign last year, you set the news alert so anytime a news article comes out, you have an opportunity to respond. And I'm really proud of seeing the new parks projects that are all around Seattle that are being implemented and that people are going for it. But you know what? You don't get credit for those. You don't get credit for those because there's a lot of small projects and there's a lot of people in neighborhoods who are working on those, and we're working on them for a long time, and they've developed plans and built community support, and they're going to make it happen. So the answer to the question is, the reason I'm talking about that is, I think mayors make mistakes when they want a big legacy project that bears their name. I think elected officials make that mistake. I think the goal of the mayor, what I would like to hear, after 4 years, is we really made progress on improving our quality of life. We had much better local transit. We had a range of housing options for people. We started living up to our environmental ideals. We didn't just talk about them, we really started living up to them. We did creative and new things throughout the city. And if I don't get a single bit of the credit for that, I'd be happy. I'd be happy. What I'd want to hear is all of the people in Seattle who believe in that, all the people who work in that, taking credit for how they made their city better. So no legacy items for me. And if somewhere in the next 4 years it starts looking like I've won and I'm changing my mind, pull out this tape and remind me of it, because it's the wrong impulse for a mayor.
You're running against a mayor that is a famous mayor. He's a mayor who's famous for environmentalism. He's credited with being an innovator in a number of projects. During his term, he's expanded affordable housing. He's led a number of green initiatives. What makes you feel confident that you have something to offer that we should choose over a prominent mayor?
Well, a couple of things. I applauded the mayor when he went for committing Seattle to reduce global warming emissions. In fact, I urged the mayor to do that and work to put together lobbying coalitions to ask him to do that. Having said that, when you say you're going to reduce global warming emissions, and you sign up hundreds of cities around the country to meet a pledge to do that, you really have to do that. And this mayor has flinched on a couple of really significant items. And one of those is the viaduct tunnel. The single largest source of emissions in our region is from transportation. And if you want to change global warming emissions, you have to get at how we build our transit systems and where we're going to put our investments. And that's a big issue. If you're going to put all our money into driving, it's going to be darned hard, if not impossible, to reduce global warming emissions to the level called for by science. And we're just not going to do it. So I've stood up. 2 years ago, every elected official, all the interest groups said, if you want to get light rail, you have to spend billions on new highways. That would make global warming worse. And our mayor stood up with them, and he said the same thing. Not only that, they threatened us. They said, if you don't vote for this, we're never going to bring back light rail. You'll never get light rail if you don't vote for those climate-changing highways. I don't know. I just think it's kind of wrong when elected officials start threatening the public that we're not going to give you what you want if we don't get our way. I just think that's wrong. So we fought that in the Sierra Club, and we beat it. And we came back with light rail alone the next year without those climate-changing highways. And so what in my record would make you believe that I'll stand up for these things? That's one. And the tunnel's the other one. Because we really have to make significant changes if we're going to hit those targets. And you can't simultaneously say you're for them and then take actions inconsistent with them. And I think I have that record of doing that. So I'll stop there. Those are two really significant examples.
I think one of the priorities of the people right now is affordability within Seattle. And the housing levy just came out of City Council. Would you support that levy? And if you were to work with City Council and you could go back and help author that levy, would you do anything differently? And if so, what would that be?
I support the levy, and I'm not second guessing the amount or the structure of it. It seems about right. About the right amount to get the public support, which is what you want to do. And I think we do need to subsidize housing, particularly for those most in need, if we're going to help meet the housing situation, the housing crisis we face.